we're going to go through the law. And what I'm hoping that everyone will get from this is some issue spotting tools to apply to their own games, advertising and marketing, to help them figure out, do I have an issue here? Do I need to think about it? Do I perhaps need a second look at the issues? And the issues as I've identified and come out of my practice in working with video game companies on their advertising of the games themselves. So indulge me for a moment, the basics of advertising law, and what we're going to talk about in here too is what is a claim. And so this is the first bucket where I see issues pop up, and it's issues that have to do with the marketing of the game itself. And so, what is advertising when we're thinking about this? Advertising is very broadly defined. So think about websites. Many games have a website where you can get information about the game. You can download it early. You can, sign up to get notified if the game's going to come out. Things like that. All those websites, those are advertising. Obviously, if it's a game that's purchased at a Target or a Best Buy, and there's packaging that goes on that, all of the packaging, physical or any digital packaging, that's advertising. Social media accounts that are connected to the game, Instagram, or certainly influencer advertising, which we're not going to get into today, but all of that social advertising, that is advertising, and those are things that you need to think about when you're thinking about claims. Branded custom content is similar. Influencers, endorsements, handouts at conferences. So GEC was physically canceled this year, but when we return to in-person conferences, the handouts and the things that are given out at those conferences, that's advertising. If it's about the game, we need to think about those things. Educational programs less so, but think there too if there's any how-to tutorials on how to play the game that's put out by the studio, that can certainly be advertising. Press releases obviously can be advertising. So when we're thinking about advertising, let's think broadly. And I see a hand up. Benita, I saw your hand up. I'm unmuting you. Do you have a question?
Hi. Yeah, this question came up recently because we were discussing whether or not behind the scenes interviews with producers or walkthroughs where you have a producer kind of walking you through gameplay, but it's not directly promoting the game. There's no call to action, whether or not that sort of falls under the definition of advertising.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly arguably depends upon the purpose for it, but obviously the purpose is to promote the game in some way. And so if it's a behind the scenes interview with the producer that's being put together by the studio and pushed out there to consumers to help generate some buzz around the game, what we're going to talk about in terms of the rules for advertising, which is that they cannot be either false or misleading, are true, right? So the producer cannot make things up about the game or make things up about the process of putting the game together or how a particular segment was storyboarded or the mechanics. And so the false and misleading or false or misleading rules that we'll talk about on the next slide would certainly apply to a behind the scenes producer piece that's put together by the studio to in some way promote the game. I'll mute you again. Happy to take questions by raising hands, and thank you for that, Benita. You're also, you can put them in the chat box and I should see them as we go through.